All right, if you're gearing up for your public health exams, this is for you. We are going to cut right through all the noise and focus on the core frameworks of disaster management. Seriously, you can put the textbook down for a bit. We're going to build the solid foundation you absolutely need to ace this stuff, and we're starting right now. So let's kick things off with a really big question. We hear the phrase public health emergency all the time, right? But for a professional, for your exam, what does it actually mean? It's not just some random bad thing that happened. No, it's a very specific tipping point, and knowing how to spot it is an absolutely critical skill. And here it is. This right here is the single most important idea we're going to talk about today, the capacity gap. A public health emergency isn't about what happened. It's about the fact that whatever happened has completely overwhelmed our normal, day-to-day ability to handle it. Think of it like a circuit breaker in your house. When the demand is just too much for the system, pop. That's the emergency. So remember that term. It's the key that unlocks everything else, capacity gap. Okay, so here's our game plan to really lock this in. First, we'll nail down the official definition. Then, we're going to break down all the different types of hazards you need to know, from biological threats to tech disasters. We'll even look at some of the newer, more complex threats. And finally, we'll wrap it all up with the pro-level mindset you have to know, the all-hazards approach. All right, Section 1, the official definition. Let's get into the nitty-gritty of the framework that professionals are using out in the field. So this definition comes from Malaysia's National Disaster Management Agency, or NADMA, and it really formalizes that core idea we just talked about. See, a disaster isn't just about things being disrupted or losses happening. The real trigger, the third point there, is when it exceeds the capacity of the local community to handle it on their own. See, there it is again, that capacity gap. That's the official switch that gets flipped. Okay, so let's take that framework and apply it. Our first major category, biological emergencies. For anyone in public health, this is kind of home turf. But it's not as simple as it sounds. It actually splits into two very different types of threats. So on one hand, you've got your infectious outbreaks. This is the classic stuff, a virus, bacteria, some kind of bug spreading from person to person. But just as important are the non-infectious outbreaks. These aren't caused by a germ. They're caused by people being exposed to a toxin, a chemical, or even things like mass psychological events. The cause is totally different, which means our public health response has to be totally different too. And using real-world examples really makes this stick. For infectious, you've got the huge global scale of COVID-19, or the landmark Nipah virus outbreak in Malaysia, which was a pioneer for the One Health approach, connecting animal and human health. Then, on the non-infectious side, you have these tragic events like methanol poisonings from contaminated alcohol, or even strange cases of mass hysteria in schools. Okay, moving on to our next big bucket of events. Section 3 is all about natural and technological hazards. So here, we're looking at things caused either by Mother Nature or by us, human activity and human error. Now, the difference here is really important. With natural disasters like a flood, the flood itself is just the start. The public health emergency often comes later, from the consequences, things like contaminated water leading to disease. But with technological hazards, the event is the emergency. A factory explosion or a bridge collapse is a sudden, intense crisis that needs an immediate, highly specialized response from teams like HAZMAT. Let's make this real with some local examples. For natural disasters, you can think of the annual Northeast monsoon floods and all the health risks they bring, or the 2015 Ranao earthquake. For the tech side, we've got mass casualty incidents, or MCIs, like the tragic Highland Towers collapse. And then you have what are called CBRNE events. That's chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear, and explosive. And a textbook example of that is the Sungai Kim Kim pollution incident. And that Sungai Kim Kim incident is such a powerful reminder of the human cost of these technological hazards. This wasn't an act of nature. It was a direct result of someone illegally dumping dangerous chemicals. The public health response was massive, managing thousands of people, mostly kids, with breathing problems, and then having to monitor the community's health for years to come. All right, now for our last category of threats. And these are the ones that are becoming way more common. Section 4, complex and modern threats. This is really the new frontier of disaster management. So two big ones stand out here. First, cyber threats. Just imagine a ransomware attack hitting a hospital. All of a sudden, no patient records, no test results, no known allergies. Patient care is just
paralyzed. Then you've got hybrid disasters, which are a total nightmare scenario. This is when one disaster triggers another, like a flood that sweeps through a factory and causes a massive toxic chemical leak into the floodwaters.
So we've talked about all these different scary types of disasters. How in the world are you supposed to prepare for all of them? Well, that brings us to our final and honestly our most important section, the all hazards approach. For your exams, you have to know this philosophy inside and out. The all hazards approach basically means we stop planning for one thing at a time. We don't have a flood plan over here and a pandemic plan over there and a chemical spill plan in another binder. No. Instead, we build one single flexible system, from our command structure to our supply chains, that is strong and adaptable enough to handle any type of crisis that gets thrown at it. That's the whole philosophy. Okay, this is it. Get your phone out, I'm serious. This table ties everything we've just discussed together. Go ahead and screenshot this right now. This is your high-yield study guide. It breaks down every emergency type, its key mechanism, and a perfect Malaysian example for each. If you can master what's on this table, you've mastered the core categories for your exam. So, we'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. The all hazards approach is the best way to prepare for a disaster. But the real test, and the kind of next level thinking you'll need in your career, is preparing for multiple disasters at the same time. What do you do when the flood hits and the chemical plant starts leaking? That's the real challenge waiting for you out there.